Hello, everybody. A warm welcome back to Connect and Convert. This is the podcast where you get insider information about how to grow your sales faster than ever. That's why small business owners tune in every week to hear Connect and Convert. And they tune in mostly because Leah Bumfrey is here.
I'm here and present and accounted for, Dennis.
You're
Good
more
to see
than
you.
present. You're the valued member of this team.
I am the valued sidekick.
You are the valued person on this team. You are the one who keeps me on track sometimes and who asks great questions. And today, before we get started, just remind our listeners and viewers of our special offer. We have an offer, and you do such a nice job of talking about this that I'd like to start with that. So tell them about it.
It stems from our love of working with small businesses, Dennis, and of helping those businesses grow. So as you know, and everyone knows, we're sponsored by wizardacademy.org, which is all about helping small businesses achieve heights that they never even dreamt of. And with that in mind, it takes some work. It takes some groundwork. So you and I offer any small business an opportunity to sit down with us for 60 minutes, no charge, any topic. We will go right to the heart of the matter. We promise complete honesty and transparency. We want the opportunity to help you with those nagging problems. It could be something specific to your sales process. It could be something in terms of recruiting or maybe expanding. Sometimes it's about not expanding, but truncating, but 60 minutes, no charge.
Yeah.
Send us an email, send either one of us. It'll be at the bottom of the podcast page. And
in fact, it's right there right now. Leah Bumfrey at wizardofads.com.
There we are. And or Dennis Collins at wizardofads.com. But give us a shout and take advantage. 60 minutes free, because we really are sincere about wanting to help small businesses grow.
That is our passion, and we are sincere. So today, we're going to do something we've never done before. We've had a lot of guests on this podcast, some great guests. In fact, this gentleman was a guest a couple months ago, and we've actually invited him back the second time. That's the first time in the history of this podcast we've done that. So it is a distinct pleasure to welcome back to Connect and Convert, Gordon Wilson. Hello, Gordon.
Morning, everybody. How are we doing today?
We are doing, buddy, and we're delighted you agreed to come back. I know your time is valuable, and I know you are now in a position, with full disclosure, Gordon happens to work for one of our Wizard of Ads clients, and we met him, Leah, a few months ago, when he became a sales coach. Okay. And he's now become the coach of coaches. He coaches everybody, the coaches and the whole team. He's the coach. Of course, he's done this for decades, and he's coached hundreds of people. In fact, we were talking about him with him earlier about he's probably coached more people when he never had the title coach than he had the title. That's the kind of guy he is. So, Gordon, I wanted to start off with a question. And I mean, your expertise, if you haven't been involved in the sales process of almost anything and everything that can be sold, I'd be surprised. Every time I talk to Gordon, he tells me, oh, yeah, I did that. I used to do that. Oh, I had experience with that. I mean, he's been there, done that. And unfortunately, when we get on a phone call, we don't stop for an hour, maybe 2 hours. We just talk, because this man has all the stories. He's got all the wisdom, and he would be your business, your small business would be proud and lucky to have Gordon as your coach. But right now he's tied up, he's well engaged, and he's on his way to coaching this team to higher and higher success. So, Gordon, let's talk about small business owners, since that's who we talk to mostly. Let me give you an example. A coach friend of mine gave me this example, this story the other day. he was coaching this particular lady who was a chef. Okay, quite a good chef, had made quite a name for herself as a personal chef, really did well, and then decided the next step was to become a caterer, of course, to expand, to grow. So she takes the step to form a business, a catering business, and it got to a certain level. And then, as always happens, and one of the reasons Leah and I have jobs is because people get stuck, right? They plateau, and this business plateaued. So my coach friend went to her and said, "Look, talk to me about what's going on. Let me help you." That's what she does. She helps. She said, "Do you still get a kick out of cooking?" She said, "Oh my God, yes, I love cooking. It's my passion." Okay, let me ask you this. Do you get the same kick when it comes to time to run your business? She says, "Are you kidding? That's the worst hour, 2, 3 of my life. I hate it." And she said, "Whoa, that's interesting." Okay. And eventually, long story, but eventually, my friend, the coach, talked her out of the catering business. She said, "You're in the wrong business. You got to go back to being a personal chef. That's your passion. That's the thing and the business is sucking you. You feel obligated to do that, and you feel empowered to do the other." So, Gordon, have you ever seen that happen where the business owner is so good at one thing, they parlay it into what they think is the next step because they think they're supposed to. They put a catering business together or a plumbing business together or an HVAC business together, and they have no idea how to run it. Have you seen that?
More times than I care to count. I think the issue is like in the industry that I'm presently in, HVAC, that most of the small business owners, not all, but most of them come out of a truck.
Yeah.
They started as a technician. And then they make a lot of money, and then they start a company out of their truck, and then it just grows and prospers from there. They may have the money, they definitely have the technical skill, but also I found that a lot of those people do not have people skills nor any sort of coaching or management skills. So they start hiring people. Unfortunately, they don't know what they're looking for. They have an idea in their head, but it doesn't necessarily give them their end result.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have the same experience that the thing that they're very good at, I do I think we've done a podcast on this, didn't we, Leah, on doers not being very good leaders.
For sure.
If we haven't done it, we're going to do it because it's a topic that I study a lot. So, hey, I'm a great doer. Okay. I get things done. I know how to do X. I'm a great salesperson. I'm a great tech. And then it comes time to be promoted or time to form my own business. And all of a sudden, I hate it. I hate it.
And the failure of those businesses is pretty easy to see. Dennis, I know you and I have talked about the example, and it's in my book. Someone I know who was great at fixing boat motors. And he just got mad because he's making his $40 an hour, but he knows the shop is pulling in the 120. So then he threatens, they up his hourly wage to 60. It keeps going. Finally, nope, I want to be making that $150 an hour that the shop is. But it's the details. It's the stuff that you don't know how to do, and you're not willing. If you're not willing to work for someone, you're probably not willing to hire someone to do it.
Yeah. So, Gordon, what's the solution to that? I mean, it's a tough problem.
Well, the tough problem is you and I have talked about before, everything starts at the top. So if the mindset of the owner isn't in the right place, that's going to follow through on down through the rest of the company. A perfect example was in one of the companies previously I was with. The guy preached mindset. He had the worst mindset in the world. I mean, everybody'd be happy and jovial. He walked in the doors like somebody threw a hand grenade out in the middle of the company, But he'd come back and tell us, "Hey, you guys are responsible for keeping the mindset up of your teams." And I looked at him and I said, "No," I said, I can set a precedent and then you can come in and step all over it again if you'd like. But I said, I told him to his face, I said, you got the worst mindset I've ever seen. I said, you talk a big game, but you don't follow it up.
Wow.
Okay, so I am picturing that in my mind, Gordon, and I'm picturing the look on his face, and I also envision this gaggle of your supposed peers going, "Oh my goodness, what did he just say?" What actually was the fallout to that conversation?
He didn't say much at the time. We had a meeting afterwards, and quite honestly, he says, do you really feel that way? And I go, yes, I do. I said, look, one of the reasons you hired me because of my experience, my background, and things that you may or may not know because you've been in this industry for 20 years. That's all you've ever done. I mean, the military, a few things before that. I said, but military teaches you people skills. You have to learn how to tamp those down, but you can't carry that into business and have the hut, 2, 3, 4 marching and drills and that kind of, you will do this and you will do that. And so I said, that's kind of the way you are, but you come out and you're all happy at sometimes. And I said, it's just a complete roller coaster ride. And you want to know what's going on in your company. That's what's going on. It starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up, did he change much? No, but he listened.
So this is a very common issue, is it not?
Yes.
Where the leader, the boss, the owner, whatever the title is, isn't modeling the behavior. And I know Boomer and Leah and I, producer Paul, who's Boomer, he's here in the background. We spend a lot of time about this. If you're going to have a winning culture, it starts with the leader. Okay. And is there any way to overcome that, Gordon?
Well, you have to have someone who has at least a little self-reflection. We all do. I mean, I've had to have self-reflection in the positions I've been in, and I've owned companies before. And, I can only speak for myself, but I set my company up saying, I want to run a company unlike the companies I've worked for in the past. When I manage or I coach, I want to be different from the way I was coached or managed. Okay. I'm not going to beat on people. I'm not going to yell at people. I'm not going to set this stringent process. I'm going to hold people accountable. But as you and I have talked about before, the sales process in any company is no different than the management should be having with the process with their teams. It's the same. But it doesn't start there. You see a nice resume, the guy's got experience. Oh, I know that company. I've heard about the guy. Okay, we hire him. We have no idea what he's going to do to the culture. Some companies care, some don't. I have heard the part where I want to make sure you're a fit for the team. I've never understood that when you get a team that's a total disaster, that they want you to be a fit for it. Sometimes.
Maybe they mean a fix for it.
Yeah, but then those people don't have a tendency to let go of it
Right.
either, which gets us back, I think, to what we talked about before. Cut out hiring people to do a job for you and not allow them to do the job that you hired them to do.
Right. Yeah. And so what should be a message to our small business owners? I mean, do they have ridiculously unreasonable expectations when they ask their people to do something they're not willing to do?
Well, I think it stems to the fact, I think everybody starts out with good intentions. I take that. I really believe that. And then as they grow, I think what happens is all of the stress of that ownership and all the responsibilities, and you're still having to work a truck until it gets up and running, plus run the business, plus pay the bills, plus hire. You now have put on every hat in the company, and now you have more responsibility and more payroll. The stress, some people just don't deal well with it. And that comes out in a direction of, hey, I need you guys to do this. And I want to see that, it's more of a command instead of an ask. And asking goes a long ways more than commands. So,
And a lot of these people, when they've started a company, they forget that all the non-company stresses, all the part of life that's still there in the background, your kids, your spouse, your aging parents, the things that are important to you to do, that's still going to be there that you're trying to accomplish along with the business. So you're managing both at a level you've never done before if you've only ever been an employee.
Right. Yes. And so do I think there's a fix? Yeah. I think if someone, like you guys or myself in the past, I mean, really what we're talking about is what customers hire me to do, which is kind of come in and take their business, to a different level, or their people, or, and a lot of times, as I've told you before, they don't even know what I do because it's not the norm. It's not a management type position. I think you manage your title and you coach your team. So you do have to manage things in the process, but you're coaching a team, which takes on that mentor side of it. And let me tell you something. That's not an easy thing to find. Sometimes I think I'm kind of the albatross, or the unicorn in the forest, because I've only met, quite honestly, in my career, I can probably, and I'll go as far as, on 10 fingers, count the number of people I think that actually had the right mindset to be a coach. A lot of them can manage, okay? You can find managers all day long that are just take marching orders, drill the team, tell them what came down from up above, how it's going to be, but then they don't know how to get their team to follow along with that other than direct orders.
That is an interesting topic. You threw out some gems there. A lot of people can manage, not too many people can coach. And then you said, we were kidding earlier about the word mindset. That's kind of the hot word right now, the coaching mindset. What should our small business owners, let's say they find themselves in the position of my friend who, with the restaurant or with the catering business and so forth, when she went back to being a personal chef, her fortune soared because that's her passion. That's what she loved. She hated every minute of running the business. But what is a coaching mindset? What should our small business owners be looking for when they hire? Should they take for instance, their top salesperson? A lot of small businesses say, you are a great doer. You are a doer of sales. Therefore, I'm going to promote you to manager. How's that work out?
It really depends. That's most oftentimes a big mistake because you're taking a lot of revenue off the table if it's your top people that you're doing.
Right. Big risk.
Understand most top people, Dennis, interested if you agree with this, most top salespeople are kind of rogues. They work on their own. They're in their own world, doing their own thing. So other than the clients, that's the only people person contact that they actually have. But there's a difference between being a people person with a company and a people person with a team that supports you. So I think we're most, to go back to what you said, where most managers or owners make a mistake is you need to find somebody that enjoys helping people become better, both professionally and personally. If you can find people that have that attitude, you will already have success starting off, because that guy's going to take his team like the little hen's chicks. He's going to take those and he's going to protect them and find a way to get them to understand that you do what you say you're going to do, that you are there to help them. Your door is always open. I love that. Banner says the door is always open, and you're always knocking on it, and they're always blowing away saying on the phone. Anyway,
but door's open, but he's never there.
Yeah, or doesn't answer his phone, but I'm here to help you. No, to me, you can take the equipment out of the equation. You can take the company out of the equation. Quite honestly, this is going to sound harsh. It's not that I don't care about any of that. But at the end of the day, if you can't get your people on the same page of what your philosophy is and what you're trying to get across, it doesn't make any difference. If you want little soldiers, then that's the kind of attitude, and you're going to have a revolving door, which the HVAC business is a cesspool of revolving techs and salespeople here in Phoenix. There's 800 HVAC companies in the Valley, and everybody just kind of circulates around. And I'll give you an example. We were looking for another coach. I have probably reviewed anywhere from 150 to 200 some odd resumes in the last 6 months.
Hmm.
I have maybe 15 that it moved the needle just a little bit, but didn't peak the thrill meter. But
Okay.
at least they were put in the pile of maybe, going to depend on the interview. And the rest of them, no way, Jose. Because all they have is corporate management experience. Well, I come out of corporate management also, but I've always run with the philosophy of either helping my teammates, a better way to approach something. You might want to think about it this way. It's just kind of a demeanor I took on. Are those out there? Yes. It really depends how successful do you want to be, and also what are you willing to pay to get there? Because people who are good coaches are not going to come inexpensively because they know what they're going to do for your business.
Interesting. You alluded to the coaching mindset. So could you help our small business owners? Could you give them any clues? We don't want to give away all your secrets, of course, but maybe
we don't have enough time.
True. But maybe a couple tips. Okay. If, I know they struggle with this. Do I need a manager, a leader, a coach? What do I need? And many times, Gordon, they need a coach. They may not even know it, but they need a coach. What is it that you should look for? And obviously, you're looking for something very specific. Most people don't have it. What is that thing, one or two or three things that they should be looking for in their next coach?
Well, I see in the resumes that, they may have been successful in what they're doing, and they may have managed a team, but I'm not feeling anything in that resume, and sometimes even in the conversation, about how they actually helped that team. Did they just have a good team? I mean, I've been on teams, quite honestly, that I could have done nothing and we still would have hit the numbers, but that wasn't the point. The point was to take those closing averages and those ticket averages, the closing average up, maybe another 10%, and the ticket average, whatever the number is, of another $1,800 per ticket. Because there's usually that much more in people if you treat them correctly. Hey, everybody wants to know that somebody cares for them, they got their back. Nobody wants to be lied to. A lot of managers say, hey, I'm here to help you if you need it. Well, what does that look like? Okay. And to me, what it looks like is finding out what your people are like as human beings. Don't just hire a resume. Don't just hire an interview. Hire someone that you can tell has whatever team they take in place, their best, their place at heart. And it may sound weird. It's not the first time I've had owners look at me and think I'm out of my mind because I'm not going to come in and I'm just going to drive the message home. Guys, we want a 14% over increase in revenue over the year minimum. I want you to follow this program. If you don't like it, you know how you came in. Don't let it hit you in the posterior on the way out. I mean, that's what a lot of these are. They're just grinders. They just go through people like a screen door in a submarine, and you can see it. I mean, I get resumes that have this one company, almost every resume I see. I mean, it's just, they're all over the place.
Thanks for tuning in to part 1 with Gordon Wilson, our first ever repeat guest on Connect and Convert. Today, we explore the difference between managing and coaching and why most small business owners struggle when they transition from doing the work to running the business. But we're just getting started. You see, in part 2, Gordon shares his powerful coaching strategies, including his famous, quote, elevator coaching, end quote, method, and his preference for questions over statements. Plus, you'll hear about his challenging experience coaching a defiant 19-year-old employee. Gordon's going to reveal the coaching techniques that have helped him consistently exceed quotas by 100 to 200% throughout his career. If you're struggling with team performance or wondering what separates good managers from great coaches, you won't want to miss part 2. This is producer Paul Boomer. See you next week for part 2 with Gordon Wilson on Connect and Convert.